Firstly, I would like to start off by thanking all the audience. Thank you for being here, joining us at this webinar. I know all of you guys are really busy people, but still taking out time for joining us at this webinar means a lot to us, and we are really grateful from the bottom of our hearts to all of you for joining this webinar. Thank you very much. And today, in the present scenario, if we see, across the globe, no tech conversation is actually complete without the mention of Gen AI. This itself shows the significance of this technology and the immense potential that it holds to transform businesses, governments, and even the life of a common man. A very good afternoon to all of you. I'm Adarsh, Principal Correspondent with Express Computer, and I welcome you all to this exclusive webinar titled Explore the Future of Gen AI with AMD's latest breakthrough. So today we will take a deep dive into the realm of Gen AI and explore the unimaginable possibilities that this technology is capable of. The discussion will further witness how AMD's cutting-edge technologies is reshaping the tech landscape. There's a lineup of expert speakers that we have for the day who will shed light on Gen AI, large language models, and groundbreaking technology solutions from AMD that allow unparalleled computing power and memory efficiency. So, moving on, if you can see on your screens, here's the agenda of the day. So we'll begin with a welcome note, an official welcome note from the AMD side. Moving ahead, we'll be having the first session. We'll be having three expert sessions by our expert speakers from AMD, from which first session will be by Mr. Timothy Robson, who is Director Market Development at AMD. The second session will be by Joerg Roskowetz, who is by George Roskowetz, who is Director Solutions Architect for AI and Web3 Technologies at AMD. And the third session will be by Matthew Unangst, who will be again taking up an expert session. Following Matthew's session, we'll be having a very interesting and very intriguing interview with Mr. John Hampton, who is Senior Director, Worldwide Customer Field Support at AMD. Now, post the interview session, I'll be opening up the floor for a Q&A session, a live Q&A session, where all of you audience has requested to send in your questions, and our speakers, expert speakers here at the webinar, will try to answer most of them, live in front of you. And then we'll be having the thank you with an official closing note by AMD and by Express Computer. Now, to officially welcome all of you and to set the context for further discussions, I would like to invite Dr. Sudhakar Yerneni, Country Lead for Field Applications Engineering Team AMD, and Mr. Prabhat Sharma, Director Sales AMD. Over to you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Adarsh. I, along with my senior colleague, Prabhat Sharma, would warmly welcome you all to this wonderful topic of this webinar. Well, the semiconductor industry is at very interesting times. The demands are growing, not just in terms of quantity, the quality of work, or the industry is demanding for faster and faster and more capable technologies. In all of that, AMD is certainly at the forefront across the board, from endpoint, that is your notebooks, laptops, to desktops, workstations, to server class, powering your data centers. Yes, we have technologies across the board. With a few innovative technologies, if I name a few, the chiplet architecture, we could drive this technology innovation to high levels. With integration of a few technologies like Xilinx and Pensando, cross-pollination of these technologies, with the help of chiplets, we could integrate these great technologies together to make value for our customers and to the industry in general. Now, coming to today's topic, artificial intelligence, more specifically, a generative AI, is really driving the whole data center demand, and also at endpoints like your notebooks and desktops. Yes, we have lined up wonderful technologies. We will hear them and to explore, to give you a brief overview of what we are doing and what else is coming up. By no means we will be covering everything that we have in our portfolio. Today we'll be covering 3 topics, that is endpoint, the Ryzen series processors, and Radeon GPUs that are meant to power your desktops to do AI compute. And more interestingly, our MI Instinct technologies is what we will be covering. I once again thank you all for joining us. And I now request my colleague, Mr. Prabhat Sharma, to say a few words.
Yeah, so once again, a warm welcome to all the customers there. Thanks for your valuable time. As my colleague pointed out, AMD brings you to your table the latest state-of-art technology, be in terms of clients, servers, cloud, and now the AI front as such. The trust and confidence with the customers have shown in AMD portfolio have ensured that we are going very rapidly at the worldwide level and now in India as well. Just to give you an example, on the server market, on the server front, we are close to 38% of the overall India market as such. So that speaks the volume of the confidence with the customers have in our latest technologies as such. We got very insightful sessions lined up for you. And with that, I like it to hand it over to the host as such. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sudhakar. Thank you, Prabhat, for that wonderful welcome note. And
Thank you.
however, before we begin with the entire, the webinar and delve into the tech talks, I would like to take our audience to the house rules first. So can I please have the house rules on screen? So this is an audio video webinar which is being broadcasted live, and it will be available as an on-demand feature on our website. We will have the poll questions in between, and I would like to request our audience that please actively participate in these poll questions, share your perspectives with us, because your perspectives, your viewpoints are really, really important to us. Now later on, once our expert speakers are done with the presentations, we'll be having a Q&A round. I'll open the floor for a Q&A session, and I'll again request our audience to send in as many questions as possible so that our expert speakers can answer them live in this webinar. Now, in case if you face any kind of technical issues, I will recommend you to refresh your browser once. And if this issue still persists, you can use the same Q&A text box that's there on your screens to send in your query, and our team from the backend will definitely get back to you with some help. And the most interesting part of the day, today in this webinar, we'll be giving out 20 winners who stand a chance to get an Amazon gift voucher worth rupees 2,500. So there are certain terms and conditions applied for that particular voucher, which is the voucher is only for, the gift is only for those who are live attendees. Also, 20 people or 20 attendees who were most active in this webinar on the basis of their participation, their engagement, the kind of questions they answer, the kind of questions they ask. That will be the criteria on which we will select top 20 winners for the Amazon vouchers. And all the winners will be notified within the 7 working days post this webinar. And this gift voucher is actually issued in sole discretion with the sponsor and the owner. So now moving ahead with our first expert session of the day, I would like to, without any further ado, I'd like to invite Mr. Timothy Robson, who is Director of Market Development at AMD, to shed light on AMD Instinct GPU or MI300 series. He has been in the semiconductor industry for more than 25 years, with roles ranging from chip design and process technology through sales and marketing, and running businesses lines in multiple geographies. At present, he is responsible for end consumer engagements with an AMD's DC GPU Instinct line of products for AI customers across Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and India, and the APAC region. Now, with this, I welcome Timothy for his expert presentation. Over to you, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, just a quick overview on MI300. I don't have a huge amount of time, only 30 minutes, and there is quite a lot of information. So I am going to zoom through quite quickly at some instances. But as mentioned, this is being recorded, so please feel free to go back and check any questions and bits and pieces that you'd like clarification on. Really, to follow up a little bit from what Sudhakar was saying, if we look at Gen AI today and its requirements, AMD is really the only company out there that's kind of positioned to be able to cover all of the requirements. From AMD EPYC, and presumably nobody's been under a rock for the last 5 years, and everybody understands and knows what EPYC can do, to AMD Instinct, where we're coming back, and I'll take you through the innovations that we have and the abilities that we have on the Gen AI side, through to some of the acquisitions that we've had within the data center for networking with Pensando, within the data center for kind of edge AI, and for NICs with the Xilinx acquisition. We really have a end-to-end set of products that enable us to be able to be the leading competitor within the Gen AI market. Now, interestingly, this is not a game where you turn up with a product and say, hey, look how good it is. No, we've been working on doing this a long time. I'm showing you the last 3 generations of our Instinct products here, but we actually had an MI50 and an MI25 before this. Now, the reason why we start with MI100 is we actually were working with our customers, we were looking at the market, and we were saying, well, we need to do something really that's specific for this market, which is a compute market, rather than something which includes things like frames per second and display pipelines for gaming. So we actually split and we bifurcated our architecture on the GPU side. And we have on one side RDNA, which is the Radeon DNA, which is there for frames per second and making sure you can play Call of Duty at 4K or 8K. It's a while since I played Call of Duty. And then on the other side, we have CDNA, which is the compute DNA, where really we strip out all the bits of a graphics architecture and a graphics pipeline, which are not required. And we make sure that we put in all the transistors to make sure that we're presenting ourselves the best opportunity to have the best compute architecture out there. That's obviously had some great success for us. The MI200 powers the most powerful supercomputer in the world. MI300 I'll take you through, but I'm sure you'll see and understand and agree it's really quite a marvel of engineering as we move forward. So how we're trying to make this easy for everybody. So ease of migration. So actually we work closely with our OEM, ODM partners to make sure that physically getting our products into their products is easy. That's one of the reasons why, for example, you've seen that we announced on December the 6th, we're going into volume production, and you will be able to buy MI300 from our partners. And I'll take you through who they are a little bit later, starting very early next year. It's really trying to improve that cycle of time to market. And of course, everybody wants top performance. That's definitely an area where we're winning on the MI300, and I'll take you through that. And I'll also take you through, as I'm sure some of you have seen, NVIDIA's response, and I'll show you our response to that as well. And then one thing which is really different from AMD, from the competition, is everything we do is open. It's all open source, from our instruction set architecture all the way up through to all of the libraries and all the optimizations in PyTorch, VLLM, all of our lower level libraries. Everything is absolutely open. There's no vendor lock-in. We're not making sure that you can only ever buy AMD cards so that we can then do whatever we want with pricing. You always have a competitive solution. And then focus on our customers. Every company says this, but when you look at the positioning and you look at how we're putting the MI300 into the market, we're really looking at a specific part of the market and really trying to focus this product on where we believe that it will bring the most amount of value to the greatest number of our customers. So just as a quick overview, we do have five of the top 25 supercomputers. It's actually a question I get a lot. They say, oh, but Rockham AMD software, is it really ready for production? Ladies and gentlemen, Oak Ridge has around 40,000 GPUs powering the biggest, most powerful supercomputer in the world, and it's running in production. I don't think we really need to say much more. Yes, it's in production. Yes, it has the ability to be able to do that on the world scale. So yes, it is production ready. The other thing which is important and is becoming more and more important over time is, of course, power efficiency. For every watt that you put into the product, how many flops do you get out? Go take a look at the Green 500. We have 7 of the top 10 green supercomputers, and on average, you'll see that we have about 2x the flops per watt of the competition. What that means for all of you IT decision makers is your electricity costs just went down with AMD. Anyway, all that as a good overview, let's dive directly into the products themselves. So we have announced the MI300X. It's the CDNA 3 architecture. Remember that. That's going to be important for you to know for later. Basically, this is our third generation of the compute DNA architecture. Includes things like FP8 Int4. Again, we architected this product 3+ years ago. The fact that we're coming with FP8 Int4 means that we are working with our customers. We do understand where the market is going, and we are ready with the right product at the right time. Has 192 gigabytes of HBM3, extremely important, especially for inference workloads, and 5.3 terabytes per second memory bandwidth. Again, extremely important for inference workloads. And we do have almost up to 900 gigabytes per second of bandwidth across a MI300X, what we call a UBB, Universal Baseboard. The equivalent from our competition would be a HDX board. So we're competitive with bandwidth. Now, let's take a little bit of the cover off, because this is actually really quite a complex chip. So what you have is you have your substrate, and then you have another, what you would call a traditional spacer die. Then you have first layer of what we would call active die, which is our IOD, so our IO die. That actually is a piece of silicon which is completely full of transistors and is what we would call an active die. It has our last level cache, it has our ESD devices, it has our IO, has power infrastructure, has all of the infrastructure for the chip itself. And we have 4 of them on that die. So we have 4 IO dies. Then on those 4 IO dies, we stack, and this is true 3D stacking, we stack the compute die on top. So as you can see here, we have these lovely green-blue chiplets, which we're putting on the top. Those are our XCDs. So for accelerator compute die, that's our GPU dies. And so we have a true 3D stacking of that on top of this IO die. And then, of course, to the sides, you then have your HBM3. We have 8 stacks, which gives you your 5.3 terabytes. And that's all then connected in a single module. Now, what does that mean in general in terms of performance? Well, if we're to take a direct view of our theoretical performance up against what's been published for the Hopper, as you can see across the board, if you're looking at doing AI, you'd expect to see around about a 30% performance improvement. For those of you guys who are more interested in FP32 or FP64, probably not today's audience, as this is a Gen AI overview. But if any of you are in a company which is also looking at at HPC workloads, then there is a even larger gain on the HPC side. There's something which is very important for specifically inferencing a larger amount of memory and a much higher amount of memory bandwidth. So what does that mean in reality when you actually come and try and run these things? Now, what we try and do here is, obviously the competition only has a certain amount of memory. We have more. So we took some kernels which would fit in the competitor's memory so that we're really looking at performance in terms of matrix math, in terms of the actual gems. As you can see, we have some proof points here from Flash Attention and from a Llama 2 kernel, and you're looking at about a 10–20% performance just in terms of performance on a model which would fit in the competitor's memory address space. Of course, you can fit a lot more in our memory address space. So once you start getting to the larger models, the full 70 billion parameters, the 176 for Bloom, the 180 for Falcon, the potentially 300 or 400 billion parameters for GPT-4, GPT-5 as we start looking forward, here is really where the MI300 just really starts to shine. You can start seeing 40–60% performance improvement in those work cases. Again, we looked at the market, we said large model inference is really going to be a large chunk of our market and is what most people are going to be interested in. And that's where we've really focused on getting the additional performance versus our competition. Now, we published these results, and then NVIDIA came out and they said, oh, this is a load of rubbish, this is a load of hogwash. Look, if you do this and if you do that, you actually get, I think it was 14x better performance on NVIDIA. All I would say is take a look at the details, see what was actually being done. In fact, what NVIDIA were doing is they were comparing FP16 against FP8. They were comparing a different part of a different benchmark against what we were doing. It really wasn't a fair comparison. So I would ask you to go. You have the details here on the screen of where that response is. Basically, we took what they were saying and said, well, that's not really an apples to apples comparison. Let's do the apples to apples comparison. And so when we took FP16 against FP16, we showed a 2.1x performance increase over NVIDIA with VLLM. They said our TensorRT LLM is much better. That's what you should be using. Well, when you actually run the TensorRT LLM, yes, it seems to be better than NVIDIA's version of VLLM, but even at the same level of precision, we're still able to give a 30% better performance with VLLM. And in fact, if you took a TensorRT LLM at FP8 against VLLM at FP16, so double the precision, you still actually, in terms of latency, get a better response on the AMD MI300X. And of course, when you're looking at inference, latency is your biggest part that you care about, because it's less time that you're paying for the GPU, and it's quicker response time for your customers as they're running their inference. Okay, great. So you're all convinced. You all want to buy MI300Xs. You should be. It's a great product, says the guy from AMD. Where can you get it from? Pretty much anywhere. I'm sure there's people on this list who are your suppliers today. Go off, talk to them, start getting some initial pricing, find out from them what their lead times are going to be. It's certainly not going to be a 50-week lead time, and it's certainly not going to be, well, it's going to be competitive. Let's leave it like that. Then, of course, we do live in a world where most people are running something in the cloud. So will there be people that are bringing the MI300X to market? Yes. Azure have announced publicly, OCI have announced publicly. Watch this space for others within the industry, but those are the two that we can talk about right now. And along with that, there's a series of what we would call a tier 2 CSP, a cloud service provider, Aligned, Archon, Scale, Crusoe, Denver, and TensorWave. Again, go reach out to them. They're building up infrastructure. They'll be able to help you get cloud instances on MI300X. Okay, very good. Let's change gears a little bit, and let's move on to the MI300A. Again, it's the same setup. It's the same Zen CDNA3. It actually uses the Genoa Zen 4 architecture for the CPUs. It has 128 gigabytes of HBM3. It still has the 5.3 terabytes per second of memory bandwidth. And importantly, you have on the same module CPU, GPU, and HBM. So any efficiency of moving data between memory and CPU and GPU have all been removed. And that's incredibly important in certain workflows. So how does it look different from the 300X? Well, if you remember, I said that there are 4 I/O dies across the chip. Basically, 3 of those quadrants remain exactly the same with an XCD positioned on top. On one of those quadrants, instead of 2 XCDs, we actually put 3 CCDs for CPU compute die. And so you actually have 24 of our Zen 4 cores available to you within that package. So what that really means is you're starting to move from, this was our previous generation architecture, the MI250X. We had a CPU with discrete memory. We had a GPU with discrete memory. Now, we did something similar to what the competition is doing with their current generation, only this was our previous generation, is we had a shared memory address space. So when you were programming, you didn't have to physically force a copy between those 2 discrete lumps of memory. But that still has to happen, and you still have to pay in latency and power for that transfer to happen. With this architecture of MI300A, we have gone to the next level of this architecture. And as you can see, you have your CPU, your GPU all together with a unified memory. So it really means that now you can say, okay, CPU, set up this data for pre-processing. GPU, go process on it. CPU, go do the post-processing on this data. And in terms of programming model, in terms of efficiency, in terms of power efficiency, it is absolutely the best solution. So between that unified memory, we have 256 megabytes of level 3 cache, which is all completely coherent. The other thing which enables with the 300A is you have dynamic power sharing. So you don't have a CPU with 300 watts power envelope and a GPU with 700 watts power envelope. You have a single power envelope, and if a CPU needs 15 watts, it only gets 15 watts, and all the rest of the power can go to the GPU, and vice versa. So it really means you can get the most efficient level of flops per watt by sloshing that power across the product. And then again, your programming model is extremely easy. You don't have to do any copies and moves, freeing up additional memories, assigning memory. You really just say, okay, CPU, go do your thing. GPU, go do your thing. This is where the data is. And it's really that easy. Again, what does this mean in reality? If you take something like OpenFOAM, so this is a CFD code, what we actually found looking at this, taking into account of the benefits of that unified memory and the bandwidth and just the GPU performance on its own, we actually get 4x the performance on OpenFOAM or on the HPC motorbike test. So again, just absolutely a top product. This, of course, going into El Capitan. We have Frontier. That's the top, largest computer on the top 500. We're going to do it again with El Capitan. That should be a 2 exaflop supercomputer when that comes out. Again, as I said at the start, looking for absolute top performance. The MI300 series of products is what gets you there. And again, great, Tim. It's a lovely product. Where can I go to get it from? Again, you should all probably know all of these companies. Go speak to them, find out about timing, availability, and pricing. Okay, so that's the hardware. How am I doing on time? Okay, let's quickly run through software. So we have introduced ROCm 6. For those of you who are not familiar, Radeon Open Compute Ecosystem is what ROCm stands for. It really is a complete software bundle which takes you from the driver and the low-level instruction set architecture all the way through all of the different libraries, compilers, all the way up to your AI models, especially for Gen AI. We're finding 98% of people are using PyTorch and Hugging Face models. All of that support is there within the ROCm interface, including things like OpenXLA and Triton. For those people that have looked and said, we really don't want vendor lock-in, and we want to be able to optimize our Gen AI workloads without having a vendor lock-in, we're completely open and support those types of technologies to make that happen. You will have to excuse me with my voice. I do have COVID at the moment, so I do apologize. My voice is probably not the best, but hopefully you can still understand me. So what do we put within ROCm? So we have our LLM optimizations. You've seen the work that we've done on VLLM, for example. There's also other libraries. Of course, Gen AI, it's all pretty much matrix math. The way that you optimize different matrices is important. And so all of that work goes into our libraries. And then we do have expanded ecosystem support, which means that when you start looking at the kind of optimizations and what we can do within ROCm 6, we're seeing about a 2.6x improvement on libraries and VLLM for inference, 1.4x on HipGraph. This really is just optimizing the runtime for debugging and for debugging and profiling. And then flash attention, which obviously is used in a lot of AI codes for doing other optimizations. That's also about 30% better performance. So put all of it together, you have new hardware, you have new software. What does it look like in reality? Well, if we look at MI250 with a ROCm 5 and MI300X ROCm 6, on the Llama 2 70 billion parameter model inference, we're seeing about an 8x performance increase. And again, we're looking at latency, probably the most important metric in terms of looking at inference performance. So that's not to say that MI250 and ROCm 5 are not great. They're extremely competitive, and we can also, if you're really interested in the 250, we can show you that performance versus the A100. And again, we're able to show good performance improvements on that side. But just to say, the MI300X and the ROCm 6 take it to the next level. So I mentioned a few slides earlier about the ecosystem. So we have, obviously, we have a close relationship. We've invested in Hugging Face. We were one of the founding members of PyTorch. Obviously, we have TensorFlow, although I'll be honest, I don't see TensorFlow very much these days. And also things like, as I mentioned, the OpenAI with Triton, the OpenXLA. How do we get to a position where customers have the best opportunity and the best competitive result in the market? It's by not having a vendor lock-in. We are actively going down that path and making that available for you. So we have an expanding ecosystem. You know, a lot of customers, I must say, I'm working with my colleagues Sudhakar and others. I am seeing a lot of you guys using Llama 2, for example, under PyTorch. That's all completely supported, runs out of the box. So with the expanding ecosystem, with the MI300X and ROCm 6, we're really driving a point with developers now where we're really starting to see the open source community come online, everything kind of coming up behind AMD and making it a point where we are absolutely a competitive option within the GenAI marketplace. So just to remind you, MI300A, MI300X, these are your best solutions for AI and HPC workloads out there today. We have an open software approach. We're not going to lock you in. That's not what we do. We have proven with HPC and AI our capabilities, and we are ready. We have broad support for all of our workflows. So with that, I would just like to say shukran, and thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Tim. That was indeed a really interesting presentation. And with the end of this first expert session, now it's the time for our first poll questions done. So can I request my team to have the first poll question there on the screen? So as you all can see, the question is, what is the memory bandwidth of AMD MI300X GPU with 192 GB of HBM3 memory? Your options are 1.6 TB per second, 3.5 TB per second, 6.0 TB per second, and 5.3 TB per second. So all our audience get 45 seconds to answer this poll. Once that is done, the poll will vanish on the screen and we'll move to the next session. So I request your audience to actively participate in the polls. I hope you all remember the Amazon gift vouchers that we are going to give away to the top 20 most participating people, attendees of this webinar. Well, so the poll is done, and now we move to our next expert session. So without any further delay, I would like to welcome our next speaker of the day. He's Mr. Joerg Roskowetz, who's Director, Solutions Architect for AI and Web3 Technology, AMD. And he'll bring light to potential of AMD Radeon Pro and ROCm for AI. He's supporting the company's AI and Web3 effort by working with key strategic partners and ISVs to enable new proof of concepts, customized graphic features, driving global Web3 consortium activities and serving as the co-chair for the German Digital Association, Bitkom's working group for client and server IT public tenders and blockchain. With this, I welcome Joerg Roskowetz to the screen. Over to you, Joerg.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the nice introduction. So my name is Joerg Roskowetz. I'm Director Solution Architect for AI and Web3 technologies, which means that we are working with end customer together, tailoring specific hardware solutions, including software, to the specific customer needs to solve their problems. And today, I want to give you a little bit more information about what we are doing, specific with our Radeon lineup for machine learning and AI. And we will go through more about the hardware architecture as well as the software architecture called ROCm, which Tim already introduced, which is the heart of those solutions specific serving Radeon as well as Instinct for machine learning and AI. So let's get started. You have maybe seen the recent announcement that we are supporting machine learning development on the desktop, and that's important. So because at the end, we need to enable the complete ecosystem for our customers, because specific developers maybe will start developing their inference-based large language models or even training models on a workstation PC. And therefore, we need to provide a solution which is open to each and every product in our lineup. And you will see we are currently just in the beginning of machine learning AI. And we already can see specific workloads running best on an Instinct Enterprise Exascale solution combined with EPYC, or a workstation class Threadripper based with a Radeon Pro card, or even an FPGA, which is suited with a lot of embedded product like smart switches, where this functionality will be an important key to improve technology in terms of latency, what Tim already expressed before on the data side of things, as well as security enhancements to detect intrusion a lot better than what we have seen before. We already mentioned that AMD is one of the founders of PyTorch, and this is very important. And I want to express this item again and again, because people need to understand that similar what we have seen in the ecosystem, it doesn't matter if it was blockchain based or now it is machine learning AI based, we're talking about an open source and open platform approach. Because at the end, talking about OpenAI, ChatGPT, everybody needs to get access on it. And everybody needs to make sure that in the data center side of things, having the exascale capacity can train those models, as well as running the conclusions with inference, or getting software solutions up and running on a client-based edge device for the daily work, using these kind of pre-trained neural networks for the different applications. And Tim already expressed this before, that, for example, TensorFlow, which was developed exclusively by our competitor, is now going down significant. And I want to raise this point again. So we currently can see statistics where the usage of TensorFlow is going to single-digit usage. And PyTorch already has 2/3 of the community's attention working in the various areas. And that's important. So the people are looking for open source, open platform, APIs, as well as frameworks. Because being very honest, we have a different subset of hardware in reality. We have a mix. So today we have maybe the NVIDIA, tomorrow we have AMD, the day after tomorrow we will have an FPGA or an ARM solution. And the software provider needs to make sure getting everything supported. That's the reason also AMD is going this path, providing an open platform as well as an open source community approach. So how this looks like, we already got some information on. We are sharing or combining our AMD Radeon portfolio with our AMD ROCm setup. ROCm stands for Radeon Open Compute Platform, which is important. It is running on all the different hardware aspects we are currently selling today. It's starting with our Radeon lineup, Radeon Pro, as well as our Exascale Instinct lineup. And again, it is important to have everything combined by one single user interface, which means everything you are developing on a Radeon Pro, you can port easily to an Exascale Instinct solution in your data center. And that's important because not everybody has access to a server developing their software applications, for example, in the office or even at home. How does this stuff work? So you have seen the recent announcement. Starting with ROCm 5.7, we enabled this ecosystem. And you have heard from Tim that currently we are already at ROCm 6.0. So you see that we continuously developing further those ecosystems. And that's also important to mention because we are just at the beginning. You have seen that we have more or less 3 different kind of pillars in the machine learning AI segment. So we have the large language models, which is one of them. So which is OpenAI ChatGPT, for example. We have the diffusion part, which is stable diffusion, so text to image generation. And the third part is about image detection, where you can on the fly detect items on a picture as well as on a live video stream. And all those workloads, they need to have a standard software ecosystem to get access, to get the things improved. And also here, it is very interesting to see how important the software lineup will be. And you see seriously very heavy improvements on the software side, where, for example, we started with 2 iterations per second on Stable Diffusion, and now being something around 20 iterations per second on a Radeon Pro W7900. And this all comes with the ROCm ecosystem supporting the different features for the open source community, specifically working with PyTorch, as well as Unangst, JAX, and other frameworks in that environment. Coming back to the starting point, we started with the official stable release of PyTorch, which is the version 2.1.2 actually. And of course, we are also supporting the nightly build. For developing purpose, I always suggest installing the nightly build. Why? Because this is using the latest ROCm repository plus the latest improvements we have developed together with PyTorch. In regards to the solutions, officially, we are supporting 3 different graphics solutions. So it's the Radeon Pro W7900 with 48 GB of frame buffer. Please get this as a note. And the Radeon RX 7900 XT, as well as the XTX versions coming with 20 and 24 GB of frame buffer. So in regards to the support, those are the supported platforms where we are running through Q&A, testing all those platforms. If you are interested into more products and the lineup, they will run as well, running ROCm 5.7 and newer in combination with PyTorch, but it is not running Q8 at this point of time. So this is important for the different software workloads, and we are also working very close to get those benchmarked and even further developed. For example, running MLPerf, Resonant 50 and BERT, which seems to become a kind of a base standard, which those isn't yet. And this is also important what Tim mentioned, that of course competition is highlighting benchmarks which let us look extremely bad. And again, it is important to follow standards. It is important to follow up what the community is using in today's work. You can synthesize your own benchmark on a very specific tailored infrastructure like TensorFlow, and you can look the competition very bad in terms of performance. Even to TensorFlow, we hippified already the first version based on ROCm 5.7, which is called TensorFlow-ROCm, which will give you a specific boost in terms of performance, because we know we need to support the developing economy and community. And we know that in the past years, a lot of people choosing TensorFlow, and that's the reason why we're also supporting this ecosystem for the best possible experience at the end customer side. Moving a step further, so it all starts with PyTorch 2.1.2 and the current nightly build. We have included all the different libraries, compilers, and tools and runtimes, starting with Radeon Open Compute Platform 5.7. So as of today, we are already at version 6 with latest enhancements and new feature sets. In regards to the Linux operating system, we are supporting both 2004 Vocal as well as 2204.3 Jammy Jellyfish, which are both supported. So in regards of RDNA 3-based GPUs, it will be the Radeon W7900 as well as the Radeon RX 7900 XT and the RX 7900 XTX with 22 GB of frame buffer. Again, if you want to run more RDNA 3 as well as RDNA 2 graphics cards, you can easily get them enabled as well. So we have spoken already about that, but I need to impress this again and again. AMD ROCm ecosystem, Radeon Open Compute Platform, stays for open compute and open source architecture. And that's important because we clearly can see the trend. And you have maybe also recently read in the news that even Meta with Llama 2 is now going the open source approach. And they started to have their own solution in the market. We also totally believe that on the machine learning AI, because it's such huge and very fast growing segment, the community needs to make sure it will run on each and every platform. And that open compute and open source approach will be key to success. What does it mean on AMD side? We are supporting ROCm on AMD RDNA 2, which is specific our workstation and consumer lineup, as well as on our exascale server CDNA architecture with specific improved feature set on the data center side of things. And we will continuously develop these functionalities, and you will see it also next year, getting more products like APUs included into this kind of ecosystem, so that you have one API, one framework, which you can enable all of our AMD products. So to summarize what we have discussed again, so first, it's about the unified ROCm software stack. Very important. We need to have one instance, which is running on RDNA as well as on CDNA. In regards to the products, we are currently supporting our latest and greatest RDNA 3 lineup. So talking about the Radeon Pro as well as the Radeon Consumer for development and the gaming community experience, as well as open source approach, working with the community and working with the different frameworks together, making sure it will run at the best possible way. And how this is important, you can see, for example, with Hugging Face. So Hugging Face, as of today, is having something around 62,000 different models hosted, and they expecting every year about 30K of new models get added into this platform. And just think about this high amount. It is not possible to have single optimizations done on all these different workloads. So therefore, we need to make sure that the framework and the API is optimized as its best, so the community can decide, I need to develop a large language model, a diffusion or image detection software piece to solve my problem at the best way running on AMD hardware. I want to give you a little bit more insight about what we are doing else. So on starting with the right side, we have launched ROCm 5.7, enabling PyTorch and the Linux community. You have seen, and that's also important because people are asking how AMD is taking this business serious. And I can tell you that we acquired two companies, Mipsology, which is a branch company specific doing optimizations on the FPGAs, as well as Not AI, which developed a framework called Shark, supporting, for example, stable diffusion on the Windows as well as on the Linux, because we fully understand the point that on the end customer perspective, they will also run AI and machine learning parts and applications on the edge devices. And this is what we are specifically doing with Not AI. And last but not least, Microsoft Direct ML, which is also continuously developed further specific on the Microsoft Windows. You have maybe heard that for the next Windows version coming next year, I think it is called Windows 2024, they will be specific machine learning tasks as well as functionalities built in, where we are working with Microsoft together, making sure that it is developed and efficient the most on AMD-based hardware. So here is an overview about the product lineup. And you have maybe seen also, it doesn't matter if we're talking about exascale data centers or on the workstation side of things, frame buffer will be key to success, because the larger the model will be measured in billion of parameters, the better it will be for the performance. And similar to rendering, we need to make sure that the complete neural network can be hosted within the virtual or within the frame buffer of the GPU. And just to give you an information or an idea about where we are. So I'm talking about large language models, ChatGPT 3.5. We have around 30 billion parameters in that system. Having compared 4.5 already contains above 80 billion. And this is just today. And you know how fast the future is growing. I don't know how many billion parameters we will have maybe in 3 or 4 years. But one point is clear. It will be definitely a lot more. And in scientific research discussions, we're already talking about 500 billion plus. So therefore, frame buffer is key for your solution, specific if you are a developer driving different machine learning AI models. In regards to the proof of concept, we have it combined with a Threadripper Pro. Minimum of system memory, 128 gigabyte. Why so much? Because it is important. You can also run 7 billion models, specific on the large language side of things, on the CPU side of things. But this is requiring system memory, and therefore we have chosen the minimum of 128. You can pair it with a Radeon Pro as well as with a Radeon consumer card. You can plug in 1 GPUs up to 4 GPUs within one system running those workloads. This is an overview. I just want to provide you more information how the complete lineup is looking from AMD. And it starts at the bottom with the Radeon lineup, followed by the Radeon Pro. And here you have already double the frame buffer. Just remember what Tim and myself mentioned before. Frame buffer is key specific for machine learning AI workloads. We will also have a Radeon Pro dual slot version quite soon, coming early next year, where you can make sure putting multiple GPU within a workstation instance. We have our Radeon Pro B lineup, which is giving you additional features like virtualization as well as out-of-band management. And on the top lineup, we have our Instinct MI series for the exascale data center SKUs. Here, I just want to provide you where to find more information. And I know everybody of you is having tons of questions. And also every week, there will be tons of updates, which is great because it shows the process, not only in the community, also at AMD side, optimizing and supporting new workloads day by day and week by week. We have our AMD AI blog where you can read the latest and greatest information, also from our partners, because our partners are key. You are key to success of that machine learning and AI path We have also a great documentation page I want to mention on the Developer Hub, as well as on our RockM Docs, AMD.com page, which I highly recommend to go through. We are providing scripts to our customers, so one-click scripts under Linux, where you can install a complete system lineup, like in a pip environment, like in a Docker container environment, installing RockM in PyTorch, installing RockM PyTorch, ONGs, checks, TensorFlow, RockM, making sure the last optimizations are added, as well as supporting a lot of Hugging Face frameworks, use cases like Stable Diffusion XL to get the best possible performance in terms of having all the tools like Xformers installed correctly. That's it from my side. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thanks, Joerg. That was really knowledge-loaded presentation, and I think you were really descriptive about the lineup of products that AMD offers. So thank you for being sharing all that knowledge, and I'm pretty sure that our audience will be more interested and are more aware about AMD's products now. So moving ahead, with the end of this session, it's time for the second poll, and I'll request my team to kindly show the next poll question on the screen. So here's the second poll. What is the memory capacity of Radeon Pro W7900 GPU? And your options are 48 GB, 24 GB, 80 GB, and 20 GB. So just like the last poll, our audience get 45 seconds to answer this poll, and after 45 seconds, we'll show the results. That how many of you voted which of these options. I'll repeat the question. What is the memory capacity of Radeon Pro W7900 GPU? And your options are on the screen. Please actively participate in the poll as your opinion, your viewpoint are really of great importance to us. Can we have the results now? So 48 GB has been ranked the most. Great. So now let's move ahead with our next presentation of the day, with our next expert session. And this expert session is by Mr. Matthew Unangst, who is Senior Director at AMD, and he will speak on AMD's Ryzen AI. He leads AMD's commercial client business, responsible for workstation, SMB, and educational products and business strategy. And prior to leading the AMD's commercial client business, Matthew led various engineering and project management teams at AMD, and most notably driving the launch of AMD's Ryzen brand in 2016 and introducing the first generation EPYC server processor in 2017. Now, with this note, I would like to welcome Matthew Unangst on the screen for his presentation. Over to you, Matthew.
Hello, my name is Matt Unangst, and I lead AMD's client commercial business. I'm excited to join you today to talk a little bit about our Ryzen AI solutions and how AI is being applied within the client space. When we think about AI, it's amazing how far we have come over the course of the last year. It was less than a year ago that models such as GPT-4 were even available, and that many other models such as Stable Diffusion and other AI frameworks became more mainstream. And when a lot of these models first came out, nearly all of them were run in the cloud. But as we see these AI models and the use cases mature and mature very rapidly, increasingly we see that some of these models are best run in the cloud, while others are best run in areas like the edge or on the endpoint device. And today what we're going to talk about here from a client perspective is how some of these models are best run on the client side and deliver the best user experience specifically on client. Now, hopefully it's clear as we go through the broader session today that AMD delivers the industry's broadest portfolio of AI compute solutions, from cloud solutions with our Instinct lineup of products all the way to the endpoint solutions with our Ryzen 7040 product powered by Ryzen AI technology. We deliver a comprehensive set of products from the cloud to the edge to the endpoint that are ideally suited to address any of the different demands for different AI workloads, regardless of where they need to be run and the user experience that needs to be delivered. So let's talk briefly about clients specifically. As we think about generative AI and in all of these large language models and the experiences that come out of generative AI, the ramp in users has been incredible over the course of the last 9 to 12 months. You have Copilot that has launched to hundreds of millions of users. Bing has started to use these applications, and increasingly we see new vendors coming in with their software applications that can take advantage of AI solutions. This push and demand of new use cases and new models is putting a lot of pressure on existing infrastructure and compute capability. And on the cloud side of things, that drives a lot of costs and investment, and it gets increasingly difficult to scale the hardware and the footprint to support all of these new use cases. And so where we see this industry going is from a cloud-only focus into more of a hybrid AI set of solutions, where you have both the cloud solutions and you have the edge and endpoint solutions that paired together deliver the best user experiences. As we think about these models, it's critical to identify which AI use cases and AI models need to be run in the cloud versus which ones need to be run on the endpoint. And when we think about smaller models that are a little bit more focused on delivering a great personal experience or many other use cases, which we'll talk about here in a minute, oftentimes the experiences when run on the endpoint are actually better than when they're run in the cloud. And that's where client comes in. Client has a real opportunity to scale this AI technology in a way that's not available by the cloud alone. And so by deploying AI solutions in our client devices with Ryzen AI, we can deliver great user experiences and scale that AI capability into a lot more users' hands in a very effective way. So let's talk about the benefits of running AI on the client device. With our Ryzen AI solutions, we've integrated an AI accelerator into our Ryzen 7040 processors. And when we're running the right AI models, there's actually a number of critical benefits by running on the client device as opposed to in the cloud. The first is around AI performance. It's not that the capability of the local or endpoint hardware is actually better than what's in the cloud, but when you think about AI models, they're very large models. They consist of huge amounts of data. And so one of the issues with running these models in the cloud is that oftentimes you have to take data, you have to push it into the cloud, and there's a latency tied to that. And so in many cases, if you can run these AI models locally, where the data stays local to the device as opposed to going out in the cloud, you actually get better performance. You have reduced latency, you have a much more responsive experience. You can also make these experiences more personalized, which is a really valuable aspect in certain cases. Secondly, especially as we think about commercial users, but really for everybody, security and privacy continue to be big areas of focus and concern. And by running AI models locally, you can address many of the security and or privacy concerns that many people have around making sure that their personal information or confidential data remains secure. When you run AI models locally, you keep the data local to the device. You're not pushing confidential data out into the cloud. And so you mitigate many of those concerns around privacy or security by running AI models locally, especially as you think about applications that are going to have access to that data or are going to be used to deliver more personalized experience for the user. And then a third key benefit of running AI locally is around the opportunity to reduce or mitigate future costs. As just mentioned, the scale of these AI workloads is growing rapidly. The cost of that infrastructure is growing with it. And so by deploying some of these AI capabilities out into the endpoint devices, it helps reduce some of the costs, whether they be leasing costs or capital expenses associated with needing to push all of the AI capabilities into the cloud. So better performance, addressing many security and privacy concerns, and helping mitigate future costs. These are three of the key benefits of enabling AI solutions on endpoint devices. Now, we just announced our brand new Ryzen 8040, which is launching now and coming to market early in 2024. And with our Ryzen 8040, we are building on what is already a leadership capability. One of the most common measures of AI performance is what we call TOPS, stands for tera operations per second. And last year, or really at the beginning of 2023, we launched our Ryzen 7040, which was the first x86 processor that had an integrated AI inference engine. It's our Ryzen AI technology, and that product with Ryzen 7040 had 10 TOPS. Now, we believe our primary competition is going to come out with a solution very soon that's going to have something similar, somewhere between 10 and 12 TOPS. But we're not standing still. At AMD, we just announced our Ryzen 8040. This product, which again comes into market in Q1 of 2024, is going to deliver a 60% uplift in AI performance, moving to 16 TOPS. As these data models and AI experiences continue to evolve and mature, increasingly AI is going to consume or have the ability to consume and utilize larger, more capable hardware. And AMD is the leader in the industry in terms of delivering the best AI compute in the market. Now let's talk about some of the use cases and workloads that can take advantage of this increased performance and capability with our Ryzen AI solutions. Probably one of the most common areas that we see AI utilizing is around collaboration. So you think about video conferencing or audio types of use cases. There's a lot of capabilities to deliver a better collaboration experience. But that is certainly not the only area that can take advantage of AI on the client device. Increasingly, we expect to see a number of what we call intelligent co-pilots. These are AI capabilities that personalize your experience with the PC, change the way you interact with your PC, and help you become more productive. Maybe it can help you create PowerPoint slides or help you manage your calendar or go through and summarize your email and a critical set of actions that you need to follow up on. These co-pilots, we firmly believe, are going to be more common very quickly. and will take advantage of the local AI capability within Ryzen AI. There's many other use cases as well. As we think about security, there's many applications that have the potential to use our integrated Ryzen AI capability to deliver better and more efficient security capabilities on the device. And as we think about workloads such as stable diffusion, AI on the device has the potential to significantly change the way that content creators, marketers, people working on promotional types of things interact with their PC and get their job done, because this AI capability is going to enable a completely new set of tools and capabilities for creators. And then last but certainly not least, one of the things that AI is really good at is iterating through large sets of data. And so as we think about data analytics, we think about running and analyzing spreadsheets or business models, our AI solutions incorporated into our Ryzen products has the potential to really enhance the way that people use and engage with data and do those analytics. So this is just an example of some of the use cases where Ryzen AI has the potential to significantly improve productivity and deliver a better user experience. Now, to enable any or all of these use cases, we have to work with critical partners in the industry. And that's exactly what we're doing at AMD. So as of right now, we have over 100 Ryzen AI features that are running on our Ryzen 7040 products, and the number of these features is growing almost by the day. We have partnered with key ISVs to engage and make sure that their applications take advantage of our Ryzen AI technology, and it's across a broad set of partners. Microsoft obviously is a foundational partner in this space, but as we think about other use cases and applications, you can see the names here of Adobe, Topaz Labs, and DaVinci, and then there's many others who we're engaged with today to bring up new features and capabilities. And again, that list is growing by the day. And this engagement with ISVs is part of a broader focus that we have at AMD to drive our Ryzen AI ecosystem in a very cohesive and comprehensive manner. The Microsoft partnership is, as I said, foundational. We were lead partners with Microsoft on enabling what we called Studio Effects on our Phoenix and Hawkpoint products. We're working with them to make sure that we are fully aligned with where Windows is going into the future, and we're very focused on co-developing these solutions and these experiences. As I hit on the last slide, our ISV engagement is very, very focused. We have over 100 AI features today that are up and running on Ryzen AI, and that number is growing almost every day. Engaging with the developer network is critically important for us, and we just announced the general availability of our Ryzen AI software platform, which delivers a turnkey and seamless development ecosystem to take existing models and compile and optimize and run them on Ryzen AI solutions. And we'll continue to invest and support the developer ecosystem to make sure that anybody can develop and create an AI model that can then be run on a Ryzen AI-based system. And we're working closely with our OEM partners across the industry to identify areas where we can uniquely develop new capabilities, enhance the user experience, drive innovation into the platform design, and really take advantage of this AI technology that AMD has. So in summary, I'd like to thank you all for the time today. Hopefully this gave you a little bit of a feel for how AI on the client device is playing a critically important role in enabling a broader AI ecosystem and set of solutions. What we're doing in terms of delivering leading AI hardware with Ryzen AI technology from AMD, and then how we're enabling the broader ecosystem around ISVs and user experiences to make some of these very promising capabilities come to fruition on our products. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. And that was a really wonderful presentation. And with the end of this third expert session of our webinar, I believe that our tech-savvy audience would have had enough knowledge about AMD's offerings and the entire lineup of products, and also the AMD's outlook towards helping their customers to grow further, with the tech as the technology grows. So moving on, with the end of this session, it's time for the third poll, and I'll request my team to kindly show the third poll question on the screen. So here's the third poll question. Number of AI features available today by various application partners. And your options are 10, 100 plus, 25, or 75? Again, just like to remind my audience that you have 45 seconds to answer this poll, and once this 45 seconds are over, we're going to show you the results. And I'll request again to our audience that please actively participate in the poll as your viewpoints are of much and great importance to us. I'll read out the question again. It's number of AI features available today by various application partners. Can we have the results, please? Right, so 100 plus is the option that was mostly chosen by a lot of people. Thank you for actively participating in this poll. Now moving on to our next very interesting session. This is an interview that we did with Mr. John Hampton, Senior Director, Worldwide Customer Field Support, AMD. So I'd like to invite John for this interview. So today we have with us Mr. John Hampton, who is Senior Director and Worldwide Customer Field Support at AMD. And he's also leading the worldwide high-performance computing AI sales at the firm. So before we delve into the very intriguing and very interesting Q&A session, I'll request Mr. John to kindly give a brief intro of this. John, over to you.
Well, thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you for having me here today. I have actually now been with AMD for over 20 years, so very much a veteran at AMD, and many of those years I've spent working with India. And let me just start by saying I have a lot of love and respect for India. I love the people and the culture, the food, the music. And I also really just love the way that it revolves around family and being together and really supporting each other. And that's really what AMD is also about. In fact, our motto as a company is together we advance. So that's why we're here today, to help you understand how our innovation can help you all, how AI can really help improve a lot of different things in India. And more than anything, we want to hear from each of you what you would like to accomplish, what your pain points are, so that together we can partner, together we advance.
So those were really warm words regarding India, and it also shows how AMD, what's the perspective of AMD towards Indian market. Moving on, I think we saw really interesting and very exciting technologies in the presentation that we just saw a few minutes back, and AMD is clearly leading the way, forward in the market. So, just wanted to know, what are some of those aspects that give you an edge over your competition?
Yeah, it really is truly one of the most exciting moments over the last couple of decades in my experience at AMD, as we launch really a revolutionary new technology for AI. Another thing I will say I love about India is they're very tech savvy, very smart with the choices that they make, what they invest in with respect to innovation. So I'm quite confident for that reason that the AMD Instinct MI300X and MI300A and many of our other solutions will really help India and be adopted by India. In fact, AMD's largest market share across the various countries is in India. So it does tell me that we have a lot of opportunity here. But to speak to your question on what are some of the things that set us apart, what are some of the advantages that we have? I'll have to just start with, we have a pervasive AI strategy that spans across really the largest commercial portfolio in the industry for AI, ranging from certainly Instinct GPUs and APUs for generative AI and large language models, but we also have EPIC CPUs that support a lot of AI initiatives in the data center, Edge AI with our adaptive AEC-G technology, and now even as we announced here today as well, Ryzen AI for PCs and really changing the game there. But what distinct advantage that we have is having this advanced packaging technology. We refer to these as chiplets. In fact, I brought a chip here with me that I'll show you. You can kind of see there that we have been able to take different chiplets and integrate them all together on the silicon. This is a lot of innovation that used to take place really on a motherboard is now taking place at a chip level. So if you think about AMD's advantage, we have CPUs, GPUs, FPGAs, and we're now packaging that with high bandwidth memory and I/O to deliver technology that really no one else in the industry can do like we can. So that does give us some very distinct advantages, including what we've now done with the MI300X. Really incredible innovation there at the chip level. But if you think about this further, AMD can really help in so many different ways across the data center in particular. So many of you listening to this webinar are faced with major challenges that include, how am I going to find the budget to invest in AI innovation? How am I going to find the power? Or in some cases, there's constraints around the physical space in a data center. Well, by partnering together with our AMD EPYC CPUs, we could help you with server consolidation as an example. We could take 20 servers and down to 10 without sacrificing any of the performance and capabilities. That would then allow you to reduce your power, reduce the physical space in the data center, and most importantly, dramatically reduce the budget so that you could reinvest it in, let's say, GPU clusters with our AMD Instinct, or maybe invest in more PCs that have local inferencing capabilities like Ryzen AI could, and improve your productivity with your frontline workers. So again, we have this broad portfolio, and that becomes a huge advantage for us when we think about partnering together on these kinds of AI initiatives.
These were indeed really innovative, solutions and aspects that you just mentioned. And I think they are good enough to tell all of us or portray how AMD is having the driver's seat in the market. So moving to my next question, ChatGPT and generative AI are some of the technologies that have become popular overnight. Organizations are preferring these kind of technologies, but a challenge that they face is that they need high computing power. They need strong back-end infrastructure support to use these kind of technologies, especially supporting the new evolving work cultures, like people are working remotely and AI is being used widely. So in this aspect or in this regard, how is AMD supporting helping their customers?
Yeah, what's really interesting to me, again, someone that's been in the technology industry for a long time, AI itself is really not new. In fact, we've been developing a lot of technology for AI, but what is new and what's really exciting is that the compute capabilities of the technology, the GPUs, and what they're now capable of delivering for ChatGPT and many of these other very common AI tools that we now have. And that's really the game changer, is the compute capability, so that ChatGPT can just function instantaneously almost. So that's really what's new. But I think it's an important point to make that we've been developing GPUs for artificial intelligence now for a number of years. So many of you may just be hearing about it for the first time, but you should know that there's years of engineering hours and investment that's gone into this moment. So just like ChatGPT was a big moment for the whole industry, today in this launch is a very big moment for AMD, because our capability has also jumped to a level where now we're bringing true performance leadership for inferencing and training, and the overall capabilities around the performance per watt and efficiency are very exciting. And last thing I'll say on this is, this market really needs competition. It's so important that AMD can bring a competitive force in here. And I encourage everyone listening to this to adopt an open and a fair competitive environment, so AMD and our competition can push each other and push technology forward with a fast pace of innovation, but also, very importantly, help reduce the overall costs associated with this technology. That's what competition brings. Competition is good. And so I think, back to your point, all of these new large language models really do require an enormous amount of compute. So these are very important investment decisions. We want to meet with each of you to help specifically understand how AMD can help your specific organization.
And I think I very well resonate with just that you said that, recently we have actually evolved high performance computing. And because of that computing only, we can see a lot of new emerging technologies can function seamlessly on systems that we have today. Now,
Right.
moving forward, we just spoke about ChatGPT, and when ChatGPT is in the conversation, I don't think we can miss large language models, which are again getting a
Mhm.
lot of popular in the recent times. Now, India is a little different in this case because India is a special case
Mhm.
where we have 22 major languages. And apart
Right.
from that,
Absolutely.
there are many more local languages. So if you look
Mhm.
at that case, in itself is another challenge, right, for organizations to integrate these kind of languages into an AI-powered chatbot or an LLM model and provide services to people in the local language, right? Which again needs high computing power as well. So I just wanted to know, is technology that we have today, the infrastructure that we have today, is ready to take up such challenges? And what is AMD's take on it?
Yeah, this is really one of the most exciting use cases for AI. And you're absolutely right. These are very large language models. We're talking about billions upon billions of parameters that go into an LLM to support these kinds of languages. And you're absolutely right. India does have some unique needs in this area. So for me, this is something that we would love to partner and invest in. And really, to build some credibility here, we are already doing this. In fact, to give you one example, the number one supercomputer in all of Europe, known as Lumi, did just do this exact same thing. We created what is now the largest language model for the Finnish language in EMEA, and it's really, in many ways, kind of bringing that culture together, bringing together all these people. And again, this is so important. We want to use AI to bring people together, to kind of unite people, to make us more productive, make us more efficient, help us understand each other, help us communicate and collaborate better. So I think it's so exciting to see what some of these large language models and supercomputers can do for the world that we live in. And imagine just being able to communicate so much better across the country of India. And again, I think there's a lot of examples that I could give you that AMD is really already helping lead the way in this area of languages. In fact, just this week, I was also speaking with a group in Korea, where they've also done the very same thing with AMD CPUs and GPUs, delivered a lot of really a supercomputer in Korea that's also delivering language optimization for that Korean culture. So there's no reason we could do the exact same thing there in India.
So, as we are talking about India, I think there's one other fact that we need to address, and we should address, is
Mhm.
that India has a lot of skilled people, especially I know as IT professionals in the field of IT. Also, in the recent times, we have witnessed that government of India has been very supportive in technology adoption,
Mhm.
or adoption of new gen technologies. Also, they've came up with a lot of new legislation on different kind of technologies that are being today,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to AI and data protection, data privacy laws as well. Today here we have, in the country. Now, moving ahead, when we see these kind of developments happening in a country like India, how AMD look at this kind of scenario, and how do you see what are some of the prospects for you in the Indian market?
Yeah, this is such an important topic. And I will say, I am so impressed by the amount of technical talent in India. It's really one of the big advantages I think that India has over many parts of the world right now, is just the pool of technical talent that you said. But I will say this too. It's very important that India continues to invest in AI to stay a leader in this area, to stay on the front, the bleeding edge. And if we think about all these tech workers, IT, infrastructure, any number of different roles across the country, they really need to look at ways to improve their productivity. So let's start with, for example, what we're doing with for frontline workers in India with Ryzen AI. We really are first to market with an integrated chiplet. So again, we have an AI engine that we've acquired and in a chiplet form integrated into our Ryzen chips for laptops. That really is a game changer because you can do local inferencing now that will dramatically improve productivity. In fact, I'm starting to use some of it myself. I think we're hearing a little bit more about exciting new innovation like Microsoft's Copilot. I joke about having my digital twin, where I have the ability as almost an AI assistant that's keeping track of what I'm learning, what my actions are. For example, I could say, what did I just learn from this advancing AI webinar that AMD is conducting? You can get a quick summary instantaneously. Okay, now take that summary and please put it into an email so I can share with my colleagues. Done. Could you please drop that into a PowerPoint for me? And could you include and generate an image that includes the theme words of that summary? Bang, done. And so you just imagine that we're all moving faster, more effective, more collaborative. And I'm very excited. Again, we're almost cloning ourselves, leveraging AI to create my own digital twin. But I think that that's just one of many examples of how AI can help improve productivity. And again, it's so important that we're all having these discussions, attending webinars, learning how we can all take advantage of this AI. And again, together we advance. This is what we want to be talking about with each of you here. So please do reach out to the AMD team to talk about those specific ways we can help each other.
Great, John. Also, I think just taking a cue from what you said, that it's just one example, the rising chipset that you just mentioned. It's just one example of a
Right.
lot more use cases, right? Where you are
Mhm.
leveraging AI, the power of AI, so to say. And today, I think it's a world where AI is touching everyone's life. It's not just in the IT industry, so to say, or it's not just in the organizations or in the backend IT infrastructure, but even people, regular people, regular citizens are also, are not untouched with AI. But even if we just open a YouTube, let's say that's the simplest example, YouTube or Google or anything, right? You just open your phone and you get automatic suggestions. That's again an AI algorithm working behind the scenes. So just I would like to ask this, that would you like to add some more examples or some more use cases where AMD is actually leveraging the power of AI and helping their customers or providing their customers with better and more effective solutions to basically improve their overall business outcome?
Yeah, I really love this conversation. I'm quite passionate about this. Really, if you think about what is AMD's mission as a company, it's to help solve the world's most important challenges. And now, with the capabilities we have with AI and machine learning, we can just solve so many more problems together. Just to give you a few examples, though, and I hope that you all share in the excitement that we have. AMD is really now a part of many of the largest supercomputers in the world. And we just announced that El Capitan will become the next fastest supercomputer in the world with MI300 technology. It'll also be the most efficient supercomputer in the world on the Green 500. It will be number one. And it gives us all the ability to address many of these biggest challenges. We're just coming out of a global pandemic, as an example. We can use all of this compute capability now with high performance computing and AI to directly address the pandemic. We were very much involved with a lot of leading medical research, universities, genomics research to battle against COVID, and also look at ways to use what we've learned to predict other potential outbreaks and try to prevent future pandemics from occurring with all of this data and research and capabilities that we now have. So what bigger problem did we just face than that one? But going beyond the medical research, we think about national security. We think about how we address climate change. I could go on and on with just the capabilities that we have. We talked about help bringing each other together with languages across a country. We could potentially look at how we predict droughts from occurring in certain parts of India, or how to help the farming community better understand how to manage the weather. So many people, in fact, are a little bit concerned about how AI could take away from jobs, but I have a very different outlook. AI can be used to really directly address our personal lives in so many different ways. And it really using the examples that I just gave, will help save human lives and improve human lives and make us all more productive. So I'm very excited about what this means for all of us. And I hope that everyone now understands at least a little bit more about how AMD can help each of you and your organizations. And that's what, again, this is really all about. Each of us has a unique set of needs. We're all working to accomplish various things. AMD wants to be a part of that. Together, we really can use AI to make a huge difference in each of our organizations and in the world that we live. So I want to thank you all very much for listening in, and humbly, we definitely want to earn your respect and earn your business in any way we can.
So, John, I completely agree. When you said that AI has huge capabilities, and I think it's not just limited to companies or organizations where they're using it to optimize their business operations and improve their business output, or let's say enhance their revenue, take data-led decision making, and lots more. I think it is also helping to improve the quality of human life altogether. As you just gave an example, that
Good
how
point.
the farming community or agriculturists, can leverage the data from AI-led solutions on weather, especially, and can take, let's say, actions accordingly, so to save their crops, or to basically be prepared for the
Yeah.
future disaster that they could face, in the coming times. So I think this has been a really wonderful and really interesting conversation till now. And I'm really thankful to you for sharing your viewpoints, sharing your knowledge, your very invaluable inputs with us. And I am pretty sure that there will be multiple key takeaways for our audiences as well. So thank you, John. Thank you for joining us for this interview.
Thank you so much for having me. Really enjoyed it.
And after this session is done, it was a really interesting conversation. Now we move to the fourth poll question that we have for the day, which is the last poll question. So I'll request my team to kindly show the poll question on the screen. And here's the question. What is the architecture of AMD's MI300 series GPU? And your options are XDNA, RDNA, CDNA3, or CUDA. I repeat the question. What is the architecture of AMD's MI300 series GPU? And your options are XDNA, RDNA, CDNA3, or CUDNA. Again, you get 45 seconds to answer this. And once this is done, team will show the results, and which will show the participation of audience. So we'll just wait for a few more seconds before the results will be there on the screen. So now I request my team if you can show the results of this poll, please. It's the most of you have answered CDNA3, which really sounds interesting. So moving on with the last part of today's webinar, and as promised earlier, in the beginning of the session, that there'll be a Q&A session where our audience will get a chance to participate and send in their questions, and our speaker of the day will try to answer them live. So for this session, I would like to invite Mr. Sudhakar Yagnani, who's country lead for Field Applications Engineering team at AMD. Also, hi, Sudhakar.
Hi, yeah, I'm available for any questions.
Sure, sir. Also, I'd like to request our audience to kindly show your love to this webinar. Try and send as many questions as possible. And if in case there are any questions that remain unanswered, then you don't have to worry about it. You can see an email ID flashing at your screen, which is from AMD. You can send your questions there, and the team from the backend will get back to you with appropriate answers as soon as possible post this webinar. As I can see on my screen that already we have received a few more questions. And to begin with, Sudhakar, I have the first question for you. So from
Yes.
when will MI300 based servers will be available in the Indian market?
AMD has launched MI300 series products, and our OEM partners on the very same day, on December 6th, launched their products. In India, they started making proposals. The codes are being submitted. So all that is already in place. For exact delivery timelines, I encourage you to be in touch with the OEM partner of your choice. It could be a few months for delivery.
Great, sir. And as I can see, scroll through a lot of questions that we've already received. I can see this question which says that are there any large language models running on MI300X platforms by this time?
Yes, as an interest topic of this webinar, the generative AI, large language models. Yes, we already ran a few benchmarks like Llama 2, etc. And we got a wonderful performance on MI300 series as compared to competition products, as compared to our previous generation GPUs. However, I would also bring to your notice, very, very large language models, such as Finnish language model, was run on our previous generation MI technology, like MI200 250X system on a Lumi machine in Finland. In Korea, the Korean large language model was successfully run. These are real time, the big ones, not just small benchmarks for evaluation. Yes, several of those things are already running on this technology. Next question, please.
Thank you, sir. Sure, sir. I'm looking at other questions. Also, I'm looking at the time which is going on the screen. So I can see that we are already running a little late behind the schedule. But still, I'd like to request our audience to send in as many questions as possible. And you can use the email ID that's flashing on their screen. So our team from the backend from AMD will definitely get back to you with the answers. And for today's webinar, I can take up one more question, which I can see flashing on my screen from our audience. And this question is the Ryzen 8040 going to be 50% more powerful than the Ryzen 7040? I mean, they are just, I think, looking for a general perspective. So your comment on this.
Oh, okay. I understand the confusion. Okay. Ryzen 8040 is a 60% better than Ryzen 7040 on AI tops. If the workload is AI related, yes, it is a 60% better. However, in general, other aspects of the processor, it need not necessarily be 60% more powerful. You really need to look at various other aspects of the overall processor. Well, actually, I was looking at the questions. Quite a few of them are related on end customer applications and then how they perform, etc. I would like to broadly answer some of those aspects. AMD makes the processing technology available. AMD makes system-level software available, compatible with end customer applications. When it comes to real end customer applications, use cases, they're all developed by our end customers, partners, middle layer developers, etc. So we all partner, AMD partners with them to make that happen rather than all being developed by ourselves. Another kind of questions were all related to a responsible AI. Yes, AMD takes this very seriously, adheres to all the norms set by various governments worldwide, including in India. We ensure this technology stays in good hands for genuine users, and we make our best efforts to to adhere to those guidelines and protocols. With that, I also will take this opportunity to thank everybody, particularly Express Computers, for making this wonderful arrangement, bringing you all to this platform to make this webinar successful. I also extend my sincere thanks to my overseas speakers. It is not easy. Quite a few of them are based in Europe. They came live to deliver their technical talks. I sincerely thank them, and my backend team is my strength. Yes, they have been tirelessly worked. We look forward to have such more sessions, hoping and looking forward to see you more. Thank you very much. I'm very sensitive of the time that we already overshot by about 10 minutes. I stop here. I hand it over back to you, Adarsh. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sudhakar. Sir. That was really, really wonderful. The way you answered the question and the way you concluded, wrapped up the entire session. Thank you for being that descriptive, and thank you for, concluding the session. Also, to our audience, I would like to say that all of you whose questions have not been answered yet because of the paucity of time, again, just a reminder, you can send your questions on the IDs that were flashing on the time of the Q&A session, and our team from AMD will get back to you with the answers. Also, as a reminder to all of you, that there'll be a feedback form, a few survey questions after this webinar ends, and I'd like to again ask you all to actively participate and fill up that survey questions, that feedback form, because that will also be counted in when we'll be shortlisting the top 20 winners for the Amazon voucher that we are giving off post this webinar. And now, as we come to the end of this really wonderful, very interesting, and deep tech-driven webinar, I would like to thank all the speakers who take out time, to give this their very intriguing and very expert level sort of presentation for us. They share their viewpoints, they share their vantage points, and all the invaluable insights that they shared with us on the AMD lineup, on the AMD's offerings, and also the technology or the industry in general. And last but not least, I would like to thank our audience for their active participation in the poll questions and throughout the webinar, of course, and the Q&A session as well. Thank you for being here with us. See you in our future webinars. Thank you very much.